Welcome into the Action Network podcast presented by BetMGM. I'm your host today, Brendan Glasheen. Today's episode, NFL Week 2, Best Bets. Joining us each week. If you were with us last week, thank you. If you are new to us, welcome. Brandon Anderson, Luke Swain, a.k.a. Vegas Refund. They will be with us throughout the course of the season. A rotating third expert. And today, we've got Grant Neefer from Scores and Odds, scoresandodds.com. He will join us for our Week 2 episode. The show 5-4 after Week 1. Shout out to our rotating analyst, Anthony DeBundo, who went 3-0. Dallas delivered on Sunday Night Football to put us over 500. As a reminder, you can follow each of these guys individually in the free award-winning Action Network app for their best bets that they give out today and anything else that we do give out. So be sure to have a look at not just the bets they give out on this show, but anything else they might add for the rest of the week. Brandon, let's get started. Best bet number 1 for Week 2.
All right, well, you guys know I'm usually a sides guy, but today I'm doing 3 totals, 3 unders, in fact. So let me start with Cowboys Jets, under 38.5. Week 1 was about unders, 12-4 to the under in Week 1. We saw a lot of defense, and I think that's starting to be a theme. We get some kind of ugly football in September. Really, we're starting to see preseason football still a little bit, right? We didn't really play a lot of these quarterbacks and offenses, and we're still catching up. The defenses are ready, and honestly, after we got that huge offensive explosion, we're seeing the touchdown rates drop. We're seeing the defenses catch up and start to dictate things a little bit too. So I got 3 unders today. Here, Cowboys, Jets, these defenses are about as good as anyone in football, right? We saw Dallas roll up the Giants 40-0. That's a team that won a playoff game, and they shut them out opening day. The Jets hold the Bills to 16. They got 4 turnovers on Josh Allen. Both of these defenses have great pass defense. Both have nasty pass rush, really good corners. And then obviously, I got the bat signal out today, guys, because my Carson Wentz jersey, he looks good in green. Get him in for the Jets because Zach Wilson sucks. Zach Wilson is not good and a big part of the under here. And I wanted to figure out, how do I bet against Zach Wilson? I don't think it's necessarily to take the Cowboys spread because maybe the Jets defense does what it did Monday and keeps things close. So I'm betting against Zach Wilson and kind of betting on the Jets by thinking their defense hangs around here. Zach Wilson in his career, when the total is 44 below, which it is well below here, 8-4 to the under. He's had 11 starts where the Jets scored 17 or less. So the Jets last year were 40 or below on a total in 12 of their 17 games, 71%. That's the formula we kind of saw Monday night. I like, usually if I'm playing a total, I like it because I see multiple outs. So maybe we get a Monday Night Football type game here. The Jets keep it close. It's that annoying defensive game. It's Mike McCarthy doing McCarthy things. Or the Jets just suck, and the offensive line is terrible. Zach is bad. Cowboys win big, 31-6. Hey, we're still under. So I like that here. And then key trend that I'm going to be using in all 3 picks. Week 2 unders. So when we see that the total is going to be low, Week 2 unders when the total is 40 or below since 2004. 45, 16, and 3 to the under. 74% under hit rate. We have 6 games this week with a total of 40 or below. I'm going under on 3 of them today. So give me Cowboys, Jets under 38.5 to start out.
I can't say I blame you going to the full game because there were some Jets team totals out there at just over 2 touchdowns. Now that number's dropped beneath 2 touchdowns. That's risky business, I feel like, to bet on the Jets to go under 2 touchdowns, despite the fact that the quarterback sucks, to use your delivery there, Brandon. So I understand going to a full game. And there are outs, as you said. Luke, what's going on? First pick for you today, please, for Week 2.
So the common theme you're probably going to be seeing across anyone who gives out picks or just yourself is the Week 2 bounce back angle, which is very fair and very valid. And it's really what I'm going to be doing as well. But it is starting to lose some traction, I think, with books, everything sports betting wise becoming way more mainstream. It never was a secret, but I do think it is somewhat of the public side at this point, and it is not a quote unquote as sharp an angle as it used to be. With that being said, my first pick is going to be the Bengals laying 3 hosting the Ravens. In this one, is the Bengals coming off of a blowout against the Browns. And I think the Browns defense is going to do that to a lot of people this year. And the Browns defense is very improved. And Joe Burrow didn't play in the preseason. He was coming off of that injury that he sat out a lot of the training camp. And if there is a bounce back spot for anyone, this Bengals offense is them. Ravens are going to be missing 2 corners, Marcus Williams, Marlon Humphrey. Mm-hmm. And then on the other side, the Ravens are going to be without Linderbaum and Staley, most likely. So injuries are piling up for the Ravens. Those are all key guys. So you got a secondary that is weak against probably one of the better aerial attacks in the league. And then you got a Cincinnati D-line who is coming in hungry, going against a Ravens O-line that is a portion of themselves normally. So this is just a bounce back spot for one of the best teams in the league that is definitely a Super Bowl contender. It is a divisional favorite. That is the one catch. But at the same time, this was 3.5. I thought it would be a little bit lower based off of last week. But at 3, I'll definitely take that.
I'm also curious, Todd Monken still trying to install a new offense with the Baltimore Ravens, and with J.K. Dobbins out for the year, they're rotating backs now. Is Lamar at all tempted to just say, screw it, I'm just going to start running around? Right. Is there, not necessarily infighting, it's too early to predict that, but do the Ravens get tempted to go back to their old ways because, well, Lamar is really their only true backfield option that is consistent until he gets hurt? So,
and the one I forgot to mention my trend, which via Evan Abrams saw this morning. Teams off a double-digit loss in week 1 are 32-16 against the spread in week 2.
All right, very good. Grant Neefer, again, welcome to the program. Good. What was that?
You're good. Keep going.
Grant Neefer, welcome to our Best Bets pod. Great to have you joining us. What do you got for your first best bet?
So my first bet isn't really a bounce back spot, although not like he played terribly in the first matchup. It's Justin Herbert under 282.5 passing yards. He hit the under in the first game, but I mean, they still put up 34 points. It was a fun game to say the least, but this number is just a bit too high. So Herbert, always a guy that I think one of the best passing quarterbacks in the league. He's put up solid numbers, but he actually hasn't been great going all the way back to last year, or at least not great enough to justify this number. 282 is a lot. He's hit this under in 5 games in a row, going back to week 16, I think, of last season. He does have a lot of offensive weapons, but we just actually got news that Eckler has an ankle injury, might be hindered, and while you might think that might make him rely more on the passing game, it actually means that the running game is going to be used more. I mean, they do a lot of dump offs for Eckler. Eckler is a fantastic receiving back. Not that he even came into play for this bet when I made it, but can only help. And if the number drops a few yards, then I'm still fine with that. But he's hit this under in 12 out of his last 19 games, I believe. He's going up against the Titans. The Titans are a team that are going to slow down the pace a little bit. 23rd in pace last year. They're going to give the ball to Derrick Henry a lot. They're going to run the ball a lot. The clock is going to be going for most of the game here, going up against Tennessee. And while they're not a good offense, they're not really going to have the ball in their hands a ton. The Chargers are a 3-point favorite here, which just adds to the under being a better play. And so 282 is about 10, 15 yards more than I have been projected for, especially if Eckler.
And to your point, Eckler was the second leading
so
receiver in that Miami game last week, had 47 yards, 4 catches on 5 targets. Herbert passed for 229. So yes, Eckler matters to that passing game for the Chargers. Brandon, and you teed this up before. You're sticking with the unders for week 2. What do you got for your second one?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the Texans this week, but this time I'm taking the under. Give me the Colts Texans under 39.5. Look, we led off this season with Texans plus 10 against the Ravens last week. It did not go well for me, but I'm not that discouraged. They played the Ravens about even in yards and first downs. I thought the defense in particular was really good. The problem is the Texans could not score. The offense was in big trouble, particularly the line. They are missing 3 starters on the line. Josh Jones, they traded for. He's a very good tackle. They already have a very good left tackle. He's playing left guard, and he was not a very good left guard. We got George Fant out of retirement, basically, starting at right tackle. I am not pleased with the offensive line for the Texans right now. So CJ Stroud, he was fine, but he's not necessarily ready to put up big numbers here. Texans scored 9 last week. So I still like the Texans. If you're curious about the futures and all the Texans love that I've had, I'm still on it. I'm not hedging out. I'm not buying out, but I'm not going to double invest in. I think the under is the better play here because I do believe in the defense. I do like what's happening here. We have Anthony Richardson for the Colts, who look pretty good, but now it's on the road. Now it is on the road in a road debut in a pretty loud stadium usually against a defense that I thought was really good last week, as good as I'd hoped they'd be. D'Amico Ryans had them playing well. Will Anderson was excellent, and that pass rush was getting through, but it's Lamar Jackson, so we didn't see a lot of results on it. I think that they make life difficult on Richardson here much more than the Jaguars did last week, aka not really at all. On the other side, Colts defensive line, DeForest Buckner, Grover Stewart, they played a really good game last week, and I think that's trouble against the Texans O-line. So the way to hurt the Colts is pass on them. That's really not a thing that the Texans are built to do right now. I just don't see a lot of points in this one. So I would lean Texans here, but I'd rather play again like the other game I said. I think the Texans can win with a close, low-scoring game or maybe a one-sided game, but either way, I'll just take the under and give me multiple outs here. So 3 of the last 4 matchups, these teams were at 40 or below. Texans scored 9 last week. The Colts offense scored 14. They had a defensive touchdown in there. Just not a lot of offense here right now. It's 2 rookie quarterbacks. It's a pretty easy read on that front. Week 2, 40 and below under. Same as the trend I said last time, 74% there. Colts, Texans, under 39.5.
2 rookie quarterbacks, and Brandon is aiming under. Makes sense to me if you just leave it at the 2 quarterbacks playing in just their second NFL game. Luke, your second pick for week 2.
So my second one, I actually saw the injury report and flipped from a different pick that I had. And this one's going to be the Falcons money line. Right now it is, I believe, minus 118. And I do expect this one to continue to go up. The line is 1.5 at the moment, where all week the Falcons have been a small dog, +1, +1.5, until Aaron Jones and Christian Watson are both trending towards not playing Sunday, which I would definitely lean on the side of precautionary, especially with Aaron Jones and it being a hamstring, and Christian Watson as well, which without those two, it really leaves the Packers with no explosiveness. Like, they have no weapons. They have A.J. Dillon and Romeo Doubs, who also is coming off of a hamstring. And A.J. Dillon, he's just never been it. I don't think he is it. I'm not worried about him at all. Jordan Love looked fantastic last week. But again, it's 1 week. It's week 1 against an awful Bears defense. And now we're going on the road and to Atlanta against a team that's definitely going to be able to run on them. Desmond Ridder, not great. But at the same time, Falcons' run game is great. And the Packers are a sieve up front. They give up rushing yards. And I just see this one without Aaron Jones and Watson. And honestly, quarterback is the only one that really matters in the end. But when you get a couple guys and they're 2 of your 3 or maybe 4 offensive weapons, I don't know what this offense is going to look like. And I don't think it's going to look good against a very improved Falcons defense. So Falcons money line.
Brandon, this was your look-ahead line last week when we concluded the show. Care to follow up on this one?
Yeah, obviously I like this pick. Part of the look ahead was in case the Bears beat up on the Packers by running on them and this line moved. And that obviously didn't happen. The Packers looked really good. But I think Luke nailed it here. Packers looked really good because their defense was leaving dudes wide open by like 10 yards, or the Bears defense was. So Jordan Love looked good, of course, but you're going to look pretty good when you can just dial it deep and hit guys in stride. So I think we need to see it against a Falcons defense now that really looked quite good in week 1. Jesse Bates, we talked about him, 2 interceptions in week 1. He was all over the place. And I think they're going to be a good test. And really, that run game is the key for me. Like Luke said, I think Atlanta will run all over this Green Bay defense. And that's why I like this one still.
Okay, a couple of picks for that Falcons defense as well, of Bryce Young. And look, I know Jordan Love's been in the league now for 4 years since he was drafted, but he's still getting his first reps as an NFL starter, to Luke's point. Grant, your second one, you're going back to the quarterback position, player prop angle.
Yep. Yeah, this is one that I got at 244.5. I think it's up to 251.5. I still like that. I think it should be at 265, 260 at least in this spot. And it's Trevor Lawerence. I don't know if they're not incorporating any. It just seems like a neutral game line to me. He's going up against the Chiefs, though. Chiefs obviously going to be a high-scoring affair. Should be a close game with a 3.5-point spread. Should be high-scoring with 51.5-point total here. I don't see why they wouldn't let him air the ball out in this spot going up against the Chiefs. They're a below-average pass defense. Lawerence, now another year under Doug Peterson, another year of experience. He should only be better. He didn't hit the over in the first game this season, but it was a weird matchup going up against the Colts with Richardson's first start, and just was strange overall. This spot, I'm almost certain it's going to be a barn burner here. Like, I see Lawerence having a big game, and we haven't even taken into account the fact that he has Calvin Ridley in the offense now. Ridley was solid in week one. He's one of the better pass catchers in the league, and people forget that because of his suspension. So Lawerence, positive matchup, high-scoring game, better receiving core than last year, another year of experience, and we're getting the line that he basically hit at a 50% clip last year. So none of this really makes sense to me, so I really, really like the over in this spot.
Quick thought on Chris Jones being back for the Chiefs. That would be my only question.
It definitely hurts,
Yep.
But, I mean, he's not going to be fully ready to go because of the holdout. So, I mean, it's not great, but still, it's not. The Chiefs' pass D is not, at best, they're average, I would say. But they're probably an above average matchup. And because of the game pace, I'm not really paying too much attention to that. And I think there's a decent chance that Chiefs get out to an early lead here. And even if Kelsey doesn't play, then Mahomes can get it done pretty much anytime. Just disregard the last week matchup versus the Lions, where that was just one of the funnest games I've seen all year. Well, it's a short year, but I've seen it in a while.
Okay, good stuff. The Action Network podcast is presented by BetMGM. Use bonus code ACTION when signing up to get up to $1,500 paid back in bonus bets if your first bet loses. For new users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Snake draft style. We're going back to Grant, and your final pick, is related to Sunday Night Football. What can you tell us?
Yeah, it's going to be a fun game. Dolphins going up against the Patriots, and this is an exciting bet. It's not one you're going to want to watch, but I mean, I find it exciting. I'm rolling with the under of 5.5 rushing yards for Tua. It is fun just watching every single play, like don't scramble, don't scramble, don't scramble. But this is a high EV bet, in my opinion. Tua, while early on in his career, first 1-2 years, he was in there. He was scrambling a little bit more, but we saw what happened last year. Multiple concussions, like they're worried about his health status. So I don't think they're going to have him running a whole lot. And that kind of shows last year, since the beginning of the season, he wasn't running a ton. He only had positive yards, I think 5 out of 14 games last season. And he only hit the over in 4 of those games. This first game of the season, he did brush the ball a couple of times, but still only ended up with 5 yards. I'm assuming he only gets maybe 1 carry on the ground. His median outcome, I think, is less than 1 carry. So 5.5 yards for a guy that might not take a single rushing attempt the entire game seems too high. The Patriots are probably going to try and contain him a little, but yes, they have to worry about obviously Waddle and Tyreek Hill in this spot. But Tua's probably in all likelihood not going to rush the ball once. So you're just hoping that if he doesn't go for more than 5.5 yards, plus the fact that they're likely going to be winning in this game, keep the ball on the ground, be a little bit more conservative, and potentially need the ball out at the end of the game. This line is just too high. I haven't projected to hit this under at over a 60% clip here.
Yeah, these are the ones that are like the too good to be true ones, where like everyone's like 5.5, and you just want to bet the over. And like the lower the over under on a yards, like usually the better the under is. Where I used to do it with Tom Brady all the time, and then like the under would hit with like the kneeing, like he'd be over, like he'd get like 2 yards, then he'd knee it at the end of the game and it'd go under, which it's insane to me that like kneeing is a rushing yard or -1 or whatever it is. But yeah, this one's fun.
Yeah, that was always my favorite last year, is taking Tom Brady under rushing yards, having him sneak the ball in, get to 1, and being pissed off until the end of the game, and he knees it back down to 0, and you got to win.
Well, let me add 2 things. Number 1, I'm going to the game. So now I'm excited. I'm inclined. So I will be one that will watch, Grant. I will watch, like you probably will, because you're betting it. And number 2, there was a moment, granted, like you said, he ran the ball a couple times against the Chargers. There was a moment at the end of that game on a 3rd and 10 where he hit Tyreek Hill down the right sideline, where I think Tua's got some confidence now to step up in the pocket and not just completely run with it like a chicken with his head cut off, and actually step up in the pocket and make throws off balance. So if he's got any of that confidence carrying into week 2, I like the angle as well.
Yeah, he could have run it on that. He could have run it on that play too, and he didn't.
He didn't, right? So and it worked. So point being is, I think he's going to have some confidence to step up in that pocket. Now Grant will probably be pissing his pants, but hey, Tua's got confidence in that regard. At least going from last week to this week. Luke, your third best bet, and we're going to go to Monday night.
We're going to go with the Steelers as a 2.5-point underdog hosting the Browns on Monday Night Football, which this is going to be a bounce back spot going against a Browns defense that just made the Bengals offense look pedestrian. But this one, it's really pretty simple. You have a divisional underdog coming off of a blowout loss last week, which we were on them last week. And it's just on Monday Night Football. And week 1, usually the home teams they're really hyped up. And then when you see them go on the road the very next week, vice versa, you can tend to see somewhat of a letdown historically, at least from my perception. And the Browns just had a fantastic win, which all of these divisional games, week 1, 2 are crazy to me. But they have a second divisional game in a row going to Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin, home dog, and then Pickett. And this is purely, I don't know, conspiracy, whatever it is. But Pickett, like halfway through that game, like he didn't look great. And I'm not convinced he wasn't concussed the majority of that game, which we would hope that he's okay because he isn't on the injury report. But they're down Deontay. That's okay. They have other weapons. And this is just a spot that you just take it in principle. So okay. Steelers plus 2.5.
Mike Tomlin, rah. I know Brandon said this last week. He's better as a rah dog later in the year. Last 20 years as a dog, Mike Tomlin, 53-31-1 against the spread, courtesy of Evan Abrams, our director of research. Brandon, you're on this game too, but I think we're going to have a consistency here for your 3 picks.
I am. I'll take the under. Give me the Steelers-Browns under 39. And man, I spent the last 4 days trying to talk myself into just taking the Steelers like Luke did. I almost came here today with Texans, Falcons, Steelers, the exact same 3 picks I made last week, but I lost 2 of them. So I had to do something a little better for today. But man, my trends love the Steelers. The rah spot, Stefanski's bad as a favorite, bad in the division. Luke, your stat earlier about teams coming off a double-digit loss, that one hits here. It all lines up for the Steelers. But then I watched the game, and I did not like Kenny Pickett, and I do not like that offensive line. And I do not like Matt Canada. Matt Canada, get out of here. Like this offense and running what they're running in Pittsburgh, this doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And now you lose Deontay Johnson, who is a really important security blanket type receiver. I think that's going to make their passing game a bit more one-dimensional. And then you got Cleveland, whose defense was awesome last week. Their defense, I was very high on coming to there. I had them 7th in my preseason rankings. And man, they look the part. Jim Schwartz has that defense flying around the field. He's moving guys into different roles than they've been. Myles Garrett lines up at inside linebacker for a little bit. He's coming off the edge and going all over the place. The D-backs there are really good. Cleveland held the Bengals, who were a lot of people's Super Bowl champion pick, to 3 points, right? Joe Burrow's worst game of his career, constant pressure. So I do not like this Pittsburgh offense, even in a good spot. I don't like them at home against the Browns, but I don't like the Browns offense here either. Deshaun Watson, despite the easy win last week, I'm not seeing it. We got a lot more of last year Deshaun Watson and not a lot of Houston Deshaun Watson. So now we're on the road in Pittsburgh in this division road spot. And Jack Conklin, the right tackle, out for the season. So now Cleveland will start a rookie right tackle, DeJuan Jones, who I like. But you got a rookie 4th rounder against, guess what? TJ Watt and Highsmith and all the guys from Pittsburgh, probably the best pass rush in the league. Watson eats sacks like it's lunch. So he's going to just keep getting sacked and under pressure all game long. I just don't see a lot of points here. This is one of those like classic AFC North 13-14 or 17-16 or whatever. Like we're grinding out down toward the end. And while I have a lot of trends on Pittsburgh, I have just as many trends toward the under here. Again, week 2, 40 and below, 74% to the under. We talked about that one. But primetime unders, we know that's been a thing. 60% to the under over the last 4 years. Home underdog unders, 61% to the under the last 2 years. Stefanski, when the total's 43 or below, 69% to the under. Deshaun Watson, who remember, most of this is not with Stefanski, 42 or below, his unders, 78%. Lots of trends line up here. Steelers, Browns, average total the last 2 years when they've played is just under 41. I do have a little deja vu here. I believe about this time last year, I gave out a Monday night Steelers-Browns under and victory lapped and celebrated it. And then we had the most awful ending, like pitchy woo-woo touchdown walk-off that went over on the last play. So I will be waiting until after the game and all zeros on the clock to celebrate when the Steelers win or cover by 2 and get Luke's pick and hit the under 39 against the Browns.
Wow. I remember that now that you said that.
Same. I had forgotten. Don't remind people.
You got chirped to death, and you really deserved
it.
Mm-hmm. I'd add, too, Steelers as a home dog under Tomlin, 16-4-3 against the spread as well, to Luke's
Pretty
point.
good.
All right, gentlemen, more memories are made when you're there for live NFL action. And when you need tickets, our friends at Ticketmaster have got you covered as the official marketplace of the NFL. Ticketmaster gives you more ways to find your perfect seat. Their interactive seat map gives you 360-degree previews of your section to make sure you have the best view of those pivotal plays. And if your plans change, Ticketmaster gives you more flexibility to sell or transfer your tickets. Plus, mobile tickets make getting in on game day a breeze. You can even customize your Ticketmaster app to rep your team's colors. Find tickets today at Ticketmaster.com/NFL. We wrap, as we always do, with Brandon's look-ahead line. What do you got for Week 3?
Week 3, this one was super easy. Jumped off the page for me. Give me the Buffalo Bills -5 at the Commanders. Here's the case. The Buffalo Bills are -5 at the Commanders. What are we doing? What is this pick? The Buffalo Bills are about to roll up the Raiders and restore faith in them. Josh Allen doesn't turn it over 4 times every week, but he does like once every 6 weeks, right? We did the bad. Now we're going to get the good again. The Bills will be fine. Everyone will believe in them again. The Commanders are 1-0 and looked awful. They were so bad against the Cardinals. I thought they basically played the Cardinals even, who we all agree are the worst team in football. Sam Howell, I thought, was pretty terrible in that game. The offense didn't move the ball. I dropped the Commanders to 30th in my power rankings after a win. They're 1-0, and I dropped them to 30th. 5 points, 5.5 at some books is crazy. This line gets to 6 easily. I think 7. I wouldn't be shocked if it gets past 7, even as quickly as Sunday night. Last 3 seasons, the Bills, when they win, have covered this line 31 out of 39 times, 79%. They win big. They're going to win big here. Bills -5 at Commanders.
All right, that is going to do it here on the Action Network podcast for our NFL Week 2 Best Bets episode presented by BetMGM. If you missed the full betting preview with Raybon and Stuckey, that episode is also out now. You can tune in for our weekly recap episodes every Monday morning. Jill Gallant, Evan Abrams, they'll be on that show for you. That'll release first thing Monday morning. Don't forget to download the free award-winning Action Network app to see all of the guys' picks, so you can also track your own. Best of luck with your bets this weekend. For Grant Neefer, Luke Swain, Brandon Anderson, Brendan Glasheen, we'll see you here next time on the Action Network podcast presented by BetMGM.